thank you everybody for coming. Really, really pleased to be able to put on this day. I want to really thank everybody for all the hard work they put into making this happen today. In particular to Michelle and Paul, but to everybody on the UK team and the wider international team. So today, as Helen said, the reason we're here today is to celebrate Safer Internet Day, but also it's a marker in the almost completion of the first round of the design work in the UK. We're not quite there, but we've got a first iteration of a web-based application designed by our Belgian partners, co-designed with children from Preston Hedges Primary School, which we're going to be showing you today. So we're celebrating that, but also I wanted to, just before I start doing all the sort of to talk about the project as well, just to say as well, just a bit about the programme, if I may. So we've got a very busy day today. We're very fortunate to have three fantastic keynotes, chaired by Professor John Horton, who is a children's geographer from the University of Northampton. So I'm particularly pleased to have Marion and Hayley and Ed's papers, because they thank you. I thought that was automatic. I thought that just happened. Excuse me. So particularly pleased because their work so speaks to the focus of today's work conference, which is all about digital lives and children's digital lives. So I think Hayley's paper, based on her ESRC work with young children, in which she's using digital animation, really speaks to our focus on how can we engage with children and young people so they have a voice in education and in research. Marion's paper on amusing ourselves to death offers us important perspectives on what we do ourselves as adults, how we ourselves behave online, and how we behave in terms of our children's privacy as parents, as consumers of digital media, and the implications of our practices for children's safety, for their rights and for their privacy. Ed's paper, really again very pleased to have Ed here, because Ed brings his experience of cybercrime prevention and detection to talk a bit about the dark side of digital connectivity and children's vulnerability in the face of rapid technical changes. In the spirit of the participatory nature of the project and this day, we are being really mean to our keynotes and only giving them 15 minutes each. But that is because we've left 30 minutes at the end, because we think there's so many experts in the audience who've got and people with lots of experience. So we really want to have an opportunity to discuss and comment and question together as a group. Okay. I'm not going to say too much about the afternoon, because I'll take my whole time telling you about the day rather than talking about the project. But just to say, you're probably aware that we're having, by now, if you've not seen the Twitter feeds, that the children, the participating children, will be coming for lunch, and they will be presenting alongside members of the CyGen team workshops explaining about the different things they've been doing in the last 6 months with us. So we'll talk about that, but I'll talk about that a bit more after lunch when I introduce the children. Okay. So, the project. So, CyGen, which is stands for Cyber Generation Digital Education by Design, it's a mouthful, is a project, an international project funded by the Erasmus Plus programme, with our partners in Denmark, Belgium and Greece. And the project works co-productively with children, with teachers and with parents, and we've got some parents in the audience this morning, which I'm really pleased to see, of those children that have been participating in the project, to understand the challenges and the opportunities afforded by the internet, and to produce educational resources to help children stay safe, and not just stay safe, but to develop digital literacy, to develop and to take advantage of all the internet can afford children. The project is funded for 3 years. We're still, as I said, just towards the end of the first phase of the design cycle in the UK. We've still got more work to do, and it will go next to our Danish colleagues who are also sitting in the audience. What I'm going to talk about today is not just, however, work that we've undertaken in the UK. I need to acknowledge that it's been absolutely co-produced with our international partners. So our experts in Belgium in digital design, our experts in Denmark on participatory design, and our Greek pedagogues, who are all working together to make sure that we ask the right questions in the right way. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about, it's a short introduction to the project. I'm going to give you a little bit about the context, why we need this research, why we need to engage with children, and then Jane will talk a little bit about some of the methods and the emerging findings. And these are very, very early emerging findings. I mean, literally we were in the school two weeks ago yesterday, collecting some further data, testing the tool that you're going to see later on today. So it's very early preliminary findings at the moment. So some context. As you can see from the slide, I hope you can see at the back, the slide. Children and young people in developed economies such as the UK use the internet at home, at school and elsewhere. And online activities are becoming embedded into children's everyday lives in all spaces where children are, in the home, at leisure and in school. The last few years have seen a very rapid change in the way children go online, increasingly on portable devices, phones and tablets, which changes the way and where they are using those technologies, and the ability for parents and carers to support and supervise and help them navigate safely those opportunities and those challenges. So you'll see from the little table on the right, the rapid change also in the amount of time children are spending online. So they're doing it in different ways, and they're spending increasing amounts of time online. So if you take the middle, the age on the left, the age 8 to 11-year-olds, you can see that in the last, between 2000 and 2015, the amount of time the average 8 to 11-year-old will spend online has nearly tripled from just over 4 hours in 2005 to 11 hours in 2015. So it's quite a significant change. But also, the sorts of things they're doing online has changed too, as technology is changing. So we know, for example, that despite the rule that children are not supposed to have a social media account under 14, one study estimated that nearly 50% of children under 13 use social network sites. And you can see from some of the statistics on this slide, the biggest increase, the age at which children really start to engage with social media is around the 8 to 11-year-olds. It doubles at age 10 to 11 when children start to have a social media account. And this is the age we're working with children now, because we think it's important to help them navigate and manage that. So I just want to talk a little bit more about some of the challenges, why we're worried, why are people worried, why do parents, why do teachers, why do children themselves worry about the internet, because there's lots of evidence that they do. So Sonia Livingston, who's done a great deal of research in this field, it says that children have gained access to the hardware, but not always the skills to use it, resulting in missed opportunities for children to engage fully and missed opportunities to learn. Instead, there's a lot of evidence that suggests that children are literally left to work it out for themselves. Nearly half of all parents, according to Ofcom, report conflict and challenge in helping their children to navigate use of the internet. But children also report conflict and worry. They find, so in evidence reported to the House of Lords, recent report growing up with the internet, evidence suggests that evidence submitted to that select committee suggested that children on the one hand feel very conflicted because they're told improve your skills, get better, be digitally literate, you go online, develop your skills. But on the other hand, they go home and are told, get off your tablet, get off your phone. So it's really difficult for children too. Some of the risks and the worries that there are about going online for children include worries about cyberbullying, grooming, inappropriate content that children might post or might view, peer pressure they can be subjected to online, but also managing online presence, so pressure to be online all the time, to have a social media profile, to be liked, Life in Lights, as you've seen in the recent Children's Commission reports. But also there's a concern about just how much time children are spending online. And that, I think, speaks to wider societal anxieties about children and childhood that children's sociologists Ginny Morrow and Mary Jane Cayley talk about, which is this sort of worry that we all have, or lots of people in society have, maybe just calm down a little perhaps, about the loss of childhood. So broadly speaking, people worry that children are spending too much time online at the detriment of doing other things like climbing trees and playing out. So there's lots of wider anxieties going on there that mediate these risks, perception of risks. Okay. So I just want to talk a bit about, so I'm just getting tangled up now with bits of tape. Sorry. Whoops a daisy. So I just want to talk a bit about opportunities. So I think sometimes concerns about and worries about children going online can crowd out the benefits and the opportunities that the internet affords children. So benefits like communication, socialisation, learning, creativity, cognitive and problem-solving skills, and participation. So worry about that can sort of crowd out the possibilities and prevent children in having those opportunities, the here and now child having those opportunities. But also we need to think about the future adult, as the House of Lords and the new high-level literacy group talked about, the need for children to develop skills which will help them actually as they grow into adults and take part in civil society, to find employment, to find well-being, and through their engagement with online opportunity. So evidence put to and published by the House of Lords in the Growing Up in a Digital World publication, so they said that digital skills and literacy are not necessarily just important for a child's future career, but the ability to use and to create and to critique digital technologies is really important as well for their ability to stay safe online. So they must be able to have opportunities to engage online in order to develop the very skills they need to be safe online. So there is obviously some risk associated with that. And research evidence submitted by parents earlier, the Oxford Internet Institute, suggests that these are really important skills that children must be given the opportunity to develop. However, against that, research by Ofcom, also presented to the House of Lords, suggested that the complexity of the online environment makes that really difficult. So the online environment is really complex. Parents are really worried, and it all makes a rather messy, bit of a mess of, us all helping children the best way we can to be safe, but also to take advantage of these possibilities. Okay, I'm nearly done, Jane. It's medium. So okay. So on this penultimate slide, I just wanted to highlight how this idea of developing children's digital literacy is one of our underpinning principles in the project. But that's also goes hand in hand with two other principles which I just want to draw your attention to. One is, the second one rather, is research and evidence from PHSE pedagogy, which talks about the need to use educational and develop educational approaches in all fields of preventative education, which start from the children's knowledge and children's perspectives. So that's our second point, that we need to start where children are in order to help them to stay safe online and to develop methods and pedagogical approaches that help them to stay safe online. And our third principle, is very closely related, is this idea of the children's rights as enshrined in Article 12 of the UN, Article 12 of the United Nations Convention for the Rights of the Child, that children are capable of expressing their views. We need to give them they have a right to freely express their views and to participate in research. Just one final word about that. So just to say that, so underpinning our approach is new research coming out of PHSE around what works in prevention education, and that is two things. One is about the importance of involving children, starting where they are, but also providing opportunities not to moving away slightly from telling children what they do, from being prescriptive, but rather enabling them to experiment and learn through, for example, role play and group work, and cooperation and small group discussion. But also, importantly, research which suggests that if you engage pupils in the design and development of programmes, they're much more likely to be successful. So now I'm going to hand over to Jane, who's going to talk about how we in CyGen have tried to involve children and pupils in that design and development. Thanks, Jane.
Thank you. Make sure I get the technology right. Oh, I'm actually going to just make an executive decision there. Well, you'll have to give us a nudge and a wink if it goes a little bit wrong. Well, hello everybody, my name is Jane Murray, and I very much enjoy working on this project. It's an absolute delight. And this section that I'm going to speak to you about now has two parts, which you can see up on the screen. Now, within the first part, how have we listened to children, we're going to cover these sections. So I'm going to move briskly on. The concept of children's voice is well supported in the literature. And children's voice is congruent with identity, agency and empowerment. According to Batkin, one collective voice speaks for many individuals, however. So the term children's voices, rather than children's voice, it might be argued, is more helpful. The idea of children's voices aligns with children's participation, as Helen has just mentioned, which is a key tenet in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child that the UK signed up to in 1991. Now, in our paper on children's voices and school readiness, one of my colleagues, Elspeth Brooks, and I define children's voices as views of children that are actively heard and valued as substantive contributions to decisions affecting the children's lives. Ooh. That's it. However, too often children's voices are not heard or not heeded, according to Ellie Singer. And this does seem to be especially true in England. The term children should be seen and not heard was actually first coined in England in the 15th century. Despite the 1991 ratification by the UK of the United Nations Convention, in England, children's voices and opportunities for participation in matters affecting them remain limited. Adult approaches to children's voices can often be tokenistic at best, and a tokenistic approach, according to Whitty and Wisby, is ineffectual. But the English position is not universal. Nordic children, for example, have long been regarded as active citizens. So CyGen is developing an evidence-based digital education package to promote children's safe online participation in diverse European countries. And that evidence is in large part derived from children themselves, by children themselves. So we set out to attend to children's voices in authentic ways. But gaining children's voices in authentic ways is not always easy. And the initial design of the cycle was undertaken in a Nordic context, as it happens, by our colleagues working with 60 children in Denmark. Other partners were trained by our Danish CyGen colleagues in this approach at a transnational partner meeting in Denmark. And to ensure children and their advocates, and in the case of CyGen, that is their teachers and parents, participate as fully as possible in the co-production of design, data and outcomes, each country team will adapt their approach to suit their own country's specific context. And we will all share across the piece the learning points that we have gained from this experience with other partners. Now I'm going to share some of our experiences of co-producing with children in England. So our first challenge was to find children, parents and teachers to work with. And identifying and securing the right school, I'm not saying there is just one right school, but one that would be suitable for the project and one that the project would be suitable for, was crucial. And I've been working for over 35 years in education as a teacher in schools and also as a teacher educator and more recently as an education researcher. And over those many years, I've learned the importance of building strong relationships across sectors. And I know how schools work. I've learned something in 35 years, which is useful. We chose the UK primary school for several reasons. I had already conducted research with children and teachers at the school before, and the head teacher has employed teachers whom I have trained. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Oh, there we go. Where are we now? Bear with me 1 second. Slight technical problem. There we go. Right, I'll have to put that down for a moment. That existing relationship based on trust and shared values was, of course, really important. And head teachers are key gatekeepers in research with children in schools. My knowledge about the school context was also really important. I knew that the children at the school attain exceptionally well against national expectations. The school has outstanding provision, grounded in its stated ethos of fun, creativity and achievement. And because the school does well, there's a confidence there to move beyond the basics. Yet because the school moves beyond the basics, it does well. The school's outward facing and committed to enriching learning opportunities for its children, and for that matter for its staff. Strong knowledge of the school's culture was important then. I knew that the people there were likely to be interested in joining the CyGen project. And there was also an element of luck. Just before we approached the school, the head teacher and his team had been noting concern amongst parents and governors around children's online engagement. So the project just came at a very good time for the school. And we've identified the importance of respect for successful participatory research with children in school as we've been working on the project. And by respect, I really mean mutual respect. So from the beginning, we've never taken anything for granted at the school. We're extremely grateful to children, parents and teachers for accommodating the project, and we tell them how grateful we are all the time. We have one line of communication which has saved time and confusion, one member of the CyGen team and one teacher. Of course, you know, we share amongst our own teams then. When working in the school, we try to minimise disruption and, although I can't guarantee that we would be 100% perfect on that one, and we maintain children's well-being. For example, we adhere to the school timetable, so children have their playtimes and their lunch times as they usually would. And we give children ownership of the project by giving them as much choice as possible in respect of their roles, of which more in a moment in the project. We value explicitly each child's contribution to the project. So, for example, our logo graphic, you can just see in the corner there, was designed by a child, but all the children contributed their ideas, and we're going to be using lots of those on the website, which is soon to be launched, of which more later. But there's a tension, for example, the logo graphic, but also ideas offered by children and child design characters have been incorporated into all of the CyGen work. But there is a tension here. outputs may not be quite as slick or as streamlined to the adult eye as they might have been had they been designed by adults. But remember, this is about moving beyond the tokenistic to listen authentically to children's voices. So roles in the project for children have included participation in the young people's panel, being part of the design team, and being part of the quality team, which has been testing all the wonderful work that our lovely colleagues in Belgium have been putting together for us. Roles for adults have included a teachers' focus group, the parents' focus group, and key features in the participatory design have included taking turns and mascots, and group names, and building rapport with children, crossing geographical boundaries. For example, the children loved Skyping with Ruben in Belgium. And reliable technology, of which more in a little while. The Wi-Fi has got to work. Data that we have co-produced have included photographs, observation notes, team reflections, and so on. And in the second part of this section, I'm just going to focus briefly before I finish on what the English voices in the project have told us so far. We've got a great deal of data from this first phase in England. And so I'm going to share data from children, parents and teachers about how children go online. And I'm also going to share briefly some of the children's views about the CyGen tool in its early development. So here are some themes about the children's data, from the children's data about children going online. How children go online includes iPads, there's tablets, there's phones, there's smartphones, there's laptops, there's PCs, there's tellies, there's thousands. The things children do online include games. For example, they told us they were engaging with Roblox, Egg, FIFA, YouTube videos, bloggers such as Dan TDM. I've learned so much from this project, let me tell you. And NPCs, that's right folks, non-player characters. Challenges children find online include feeling uncomfortable, telling others too much about you. You should never take photos outside of your own house, one person told us very wisely. Knowing who owns what is a challenge that the children are only too aware of, and the fact they're worried about parents being rather annoying, watching over you all the time. But, and you'll see the sort of counterbalance to that as I explain some of the solutions from children to their online challenges. We ask parents, they want to ask parents if they're unsure. They wanted to use a toy for comfort sometimes. One person said, I feel like the soft toy being next to me is calming when I'm playing online and stuff. I always have the soft toy with me because if something kind of bad happens, he's kind of there. My parents are always there as well. But I feel that the soft toy being next to me is very calming. Parents do not need to be there all the time, but they should check on you regularly, said one person. Using settings was another important idea, and restricted use of the Wi-Fi code. And also, my mum and dad would be like, what are you watching? And I'll be like, I'm watching this. And then they'll check to see. And then they'll leave me because they know that I'm telling them what I'm telling them is right. And other key themes from children about children going online included things children find easy about the internet, things children find most difficult about the internet, tips for solving problems, what children think adults should do to support safety, so listen up, and fun stuff with parents online. We were really pleased to welcome 6 parents who came to our...
Sorry, is autism of which age groups?
The children who we are working with at the moment are 9 and 10.
9 and 10,
Okay.
So you're fine.
Yes. Thank you for that. Yeah, no, that was really helpful. Thank you. 6 parents, sometimes the most obvious things are other things we forget, aren't they? 6 parents came to the parent focus group, and themes that emerged in their data included what do children use the internet for? Information was one reason. YouTube, how to tie a tie was one response. And she taught herself how to do that. Oh, Mum, I'll just Google it, she said. Homework, gaming, making animations, YouTube. They upload their own videos, they were telling us what two of them were. Watching bloggers and FaceTiming friends. Challenges that children encounter online include peer pressure, according to parents, children sharing inappropriate information, enabling access to unknown people or inappropriate content. One parent said once they've seen something, they can't unsee it. And parents talk to their children about online challenges and dangers. One parent said, I say to him, I'm not saying this to squash your fun. I want you to do it. Enjoy all the benefits that it has. But also there's a side that isn't so good. And you need to know how to keep yourself safe. Parents said how they respond. They gave us a variety of ways of how they respond. For example, restricting children's access either by time or the location of the hardware. Communicating only with people the children know, including friends of others. Communicating only with certain media. Talking about the challenges. One parent said, we say to her, look, just because someone pops up and says they're a 14-year-old girl, that could be someone like your grandpa. I've no idea. And the location of devices, it isn't possible to limit the device use to certain rooms, one parent told us. There are too many rooms. And some parents try to monitor where devices are used and kept, however, and the layout of the house seemed to be an issue for resolving or creating problems. And other themes included how children go online, checking their friend lists, being aware of what children are doing, children monitoring themselves, and also siblings. That was quite an interesting issue that came up, particularly for parents who had maybe teenage children as well. Parent fears and so on. I'll just move on quite swiftly now. And then some teachers' data. 6 teaching staff joined the teachers' focus group. And so some key themes that emerged included the hardware that they use for their teaching with the children, their iPad, that included iPads and computers, the ICT suite, robots, bebots, mobile phones. Hardware that they used but was not for teaching. One of the teachers told us a lot of children have access to phones, iPads, and they have access to multiple devices. And the software and platforms that teachers told us they were using in their teaching included Google Expeditions, YouTube, search engines, apps, Skype, Twitter. And the teachers had talked about their online safety strategy at the school. We have visitors in as well talking about safety, they said. Teachers suggested that there are two sides to children's knowledge and skills. Firstly, curriculum related. So they said, do you mean like effective questions? If the children are trying to find something out and they're researching, they'll quite often go, I don't know how to find that out. And I'll say, well, what sort of questions do you need to ask? And they become more concise with what they want to find out. And the second aspect of the knowledge and skills to which the teachers referred was safety related. And one of the teachers said they didn't realise that if you just typed in a friend's name, you could get someone who isn't your friend who has the same name. Another said, we talk about talking to people online because there are children out there who play lots of things. We talk about WhatsApp and that sort of thing. Other themes from teachers included the software and platforms they use, but not for teaching, online safety at home, which was a concern, and relationships. Almost finished. We invited the children to test the tool once it had been developed to an early stage, and we asked them, the tool that we've created, you're all going to see later, very exciting, we asked them to make suggestions for what they would add and for support and advice for parents. And they applied, if you know the Moscow tool from Clegg and Baker, which it focuses on what the user might think we must have, what we should have, what they could have, and what we won't have in the product. And the children's responses using the Moscow tool addressed operational issues. They thought language was the key theme. They wanted, within the tool that we were designing, Morse code, language buttons, sign language and voice explanation, and several children suggested different devices to operate the CyGen tool. The icon for the movie clips, like an icon for a movie clip, controllers instead of clicking on the computers, for example, and a restart button. They were interested in a range of characters to support different aspects of the tool, a mascot to help them, an avatar, and give them dogs and cats. And they wanted characters who chat to you when you're stuck. And they were also eager to earn rewards for learning through the tool. And there, as well as those sort of more technical and aesthetic aspects, the children's responses also address conceptual issues. Some children address issues of diversity in respect of the characters, and they wanted different genders, different ethnicities among the characters. Other children were concerned that the tool asked for personal information to set up the profile on the homepage, and they advocated no email address, no profiles. The appropriate technical equipment is crucial, as we have discovered. I mentioned Wi-Fi earlier. One day when we were testing the CyGen, the new CyGen tool in the school, because of timetabling issues, we didn't have access to a large screen or speakers or a quiet space, and that presented quite a few challenges for the children that we need to take away as researchers and sort of bear in mind. The children thought we should have a menu to help the facilitator prepare resources for the children ahead of the session, and to prepare them for what to expect. And we agreed with them absolutely, that we'd all know beforehand quite what it is that we're all going to be looking at. Is really helpful. And stopping off points as well. We found that when we're presenting the tool, and for those of you who come along to the quality testing session later on, you'll have an experience of this. We'll give you some stopping off points so that you can have a go at filling in the Moscow tool yourself. What are our next steps? Well, the English team is handing over now to the Danish team after this week. And this document is our handover document, and Michelle's been leading on, taking all of our work that we've been doing so far, and the Danish team will, we are sure, find even more new and exciting things than we've been doing. But remember what I said earlier, that this is very much a co-production, and so after that we'll be working with our colleagues in Greece and Belgium, and then we will have a wonderful, diverse product, we hope. Thank you very much for listening.